Look up. What do you see? Blue skies, fluffy clouds, maybe the golden rays of the setting sun? Our weather, for all of human history, has been a force of nature, beautiful and terrifying in its raw power. But what if those skies are no longer purely natural? What if the storms that rage, the droughts that parch the earth are not acts of a random universe? Across the globe we are witnessing weather patterns more erratic, more extreme than ever before. Hurricanes of unprecedented ferocity slam into coastlines, leaving devastation in their wake. Wildfires rage out of control, fueled by intense heat and bone-dry conditions. Regions once fertile are now gripped by relentless drought, their fields barren and cracked. Scientists warn of climate change, of a planet warming at an alarming rate. But what if there is more to the story? What if these dramatic shifts in our climate are not just the consequence of human negligence, but the deliberate manipulation of forces we barely understand? This is not the stuff of science fiction. This is the unsettling reality we must confront. Behind the veil of normalcy, a hidden war is being waged, a war for control of the very elements that govern our planet. For decades, rumors have swirled, whispers of secret government projects, of technologies capable of harnessing the awesome power of nature. They are dismissed as conspiracy theories, the ramblings of the paranoid fringe. But what if these whispers hold a grain of truth? Hidden within classified documents, buried deep within government budgets, are hints of programs with names like Operation Popeye and High-Frequency Active Auroral Research Program, projects that speak of cloud seeding, ionospheric heating, and weather modification on a global scale. These programs, shrouded in secrecy, raise troubling questions. Who controls these technologies? What are their true capabilities? And are they already being deployed, not to mitigate natural disasters, but to create them? The implications are staggering. The ability to manipulate weather patterns is the ultimate weapon, capable of shaping battlefields, crippling economies, and holding entire populations hostage to the whims of nature. Imagine a world where droughts can be engineered to starve nations into submission, where storms are steered towards enemy coastlines, their fury unleashed with surgical precision, where floods, once considered acts of God, become tools of geopolitical manipulation. This is not a world of the distant future. It is the precipice upon which we stand. The technology exists, and the temptation to wield it, to gain an advantage in an increasingly unstable world, is growing stronger. But the weaponization of weather is a dangerous game, one with consequences that could spiral out of control. The delicate balance of our planet's ecosystems is already under threat. To deliberately manipulate them is to court disaster on a global scale. We can no longer afford to ignore the whispers, to dismiss the evidence as mere conspiracy. The future of our planet, the very survival of our species, may depend on our willingness to confront the unsettling truth about weather manipulation. For millennia, humanity has lived at the mercy of the elements, from the ancient farmers praying for rain to nourish their crops, to sailors charting their course by the stars and the winds. We have always understood our place within the intricate web of nature. But that understanding, that humility in the face of forces greater than ourselves, is being challenged as never before. We have entered an age where manipulating the environment rather than adapting to it has become the dominant paradigm. Driven by hubris and a thirst for control, we are reaching for the levers that govern the very fabric of our planet's climate. This is the realm of geoengineering, a term that encompasses a range of technologies with the potential to alter weather patterns on a local, regional, and even global scale. The proponents of geoengineering argue that these technologies offer solutions to the pressing challenges of our time, from mitigating the effects of climate change to ensuring water security in drought-stricken regions. They paint a picture of a future where we can fine-tune the planet's thermostat, turning down the heat or dialing up the rainfall with the flick of a switch. But beneath the veneer of scientific progress lies a deeply unsettling truth. Geoengineering represents a fundamental shift in our relationship with nature, one that carries profound risks and ethical dilemmas. By tampering with complex systems we barely understand, we risk unleashing consequences far more devastating than the problems we seek to solve. Cloud seeding, a Faustian bargain with the skies? Of all the geoengineering technologies, cloud seeding is perhaps the most familiar and the most deceptively benign. The image of scientists seeding clouds with silver iodide or dry ice to induce rainfall has become almost commonplace, particularly in regions grappling with drought and water scarcity. But even this seemingly innocuous intervention raises questions about our right to manipulate the natural world. Proponents of cloud seeding point to its potential benefits, from replenishing depleted reservoirs to suppressing the formation of hailstorms that can devastate crops. They argue that it is a relatively low-cost, low-risk method for addressing critical water management challenges, but critics warn that tinkering with the delicate balance of the atmosphere is a dangerous game. What happens to the rain that falls in one region when it is artificially induced to fall there rather than elsewhere? Could cloud seeding in one area lead to drought in another, setting off a chain reaction of unintended consequences? And what about the long-term ecological impacts of introducing foreign substances into the atmosphere? These are not hypothetical questions. Studies have shown that cloud seeding can have unpredictable and potentially harmful downstream effects, altering wind patterns, precipitation levels, and even the distribution of plant and animal life. While cloud seeding may seem like a relatively harmless form of weather modification, it serves as a stark reminder that even seemingly small interventions in complex systems can have far-reaching and often unpredictable consequences. Beyond the clouds, the expanding arsenal. Cloud seeding, for all its controversies, represents just the tip of the geoengineering iceberg. As our understanding of atmospheric processes grows, so too does our capacity to manipulate them. From giant mirrors in space designed to reflect sunlight back into space to vast networks of machines that would suck carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere, the proposed solutions to climate change read like something out of a science fiction novel. Stratospheric aerosol injection, for example, involves injecting reflective particles into the stratosphere to mimic the cooling effects of volcanic eruptions. While proponents argue that this could help to offset global warming, critics warn of potentially catastrophic side effects, such as disrupting monsoon patterns, damaging the ozone layer, and even triggering widespread crop failures. Another controversial proposal involves ocean fertilization, a process of dumping iron or other nutrients into the ocean to stimulate the growth of phytoplankton, which absorb carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. While this might sound like a promising way to sequester carbon, it could have devastating consequences for marine ecosystems, potentially leading to oxygen depletion, harmful algal blooms, and disruptions to the food chain. These are just a few examples of the increasingly ambitious and potentially dangerous geoengineering schemes being proposed. As the urgency of the climate crisis grows, so too does the pressure to embrace technological solutions, even those that carry enormous risks. But before we embark on this high-stakes gamble with the planet's future, we must ask ourselves whether we have the wisdom, the foresight, and the ethical right to tamper with systems we barely understand. Ionospheric heating. Tampering with the Earth's shield. High above the Earth's surface, extending from about 50 to 1,000 kilometers, lies a dynamic and electrically charged region known as the ionosphere. This layer of the atmosphere plays a crucial role in reflecting radio waves, enabling long-distance communication, and protecting us from harmful solar radiation. But what happens when humans attempt to manipulate this delicate and vital part of our planet's shield? Enter ionospheric heating, a controversial technology that involves beaming high-frequency radio waves into the ionosphere to temporarily alter its properties. While officially touted as a means of studying the upper atmosphere and improving communication systems, some researchers believe that ionospheric heating could be used for more nefarious purposes. Conspiracy theories abound regarding the potential military applications of ionospheric heating. Some speculate that it could be used to disrupt enemy communications, create artificial weather patterns, or even trigger earthquakes. While such claims remain largely unsubstantiated, the secrecy surrounding ionospheric heating research fuels suspicion and distrust. The most well-known ionospheric heating facility is the High-Frequency Active Auroral Research Program, or HAARP, located in Gacona, Alaska. While HAARP officials maintain that the facility is used solely for scientific research, its capabilities and potential for dual-use applications have made it a lightning rod for conspiracy theories and a symbol of the potential dangers of tampering with forces we do not fully comprehend. The allure of control is a powerful force, one that has driven human ambition and innovation for centuries. From the earliest attempts to harness fire to the development of nuclear weapons, our species has consistently pushed the boundaries of what is technologically possible, often without fully considering the ethical implications or long-term consequences. Geoengineering in many ways represents the ultimate expression of this desire for control, the ultimate manifestation of our hubris. But the natural world is not a machine to be engineered and manipulated at will. It is a complex, interconnected web of life, a delicate balance of forces that we are only beginning to understand. To believe that we can control these forces without unintended and potentially catastrophic consequences is to succumb to a dangerous delusion. The pursuit of geoengineering solutions to climate change is a slippery slope. It distracts from the urgent need to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and transition to a sustainable way of life. It risks normalizing the idea that we can engineer our way out of any problem, no matter how complex or challenging. And it sets a dangerous precedent for future generations who will inherit the consequences of our actions. The real question we must ask ourselves is not whether we can engineer the climate, but whether we have the right to do so. Do we have the wisdom to predict the long-term consequences of our actions? Do we have the ethical authority to make decisions that will impact all life on Earth? And are we willing to risk the future of our planet on the gamble that we can control forces far greater than ourselves? The year is 1967. The Vietnam War rages. The U.S. military embarks on a secret operation, Operation Popeye, a chilling example of weather manipulation used as a weapon of war. The objective was to extend the monsoon season over the Ho Chi Minh Trail. By increasing rainfall, the U.S. hoped to disrupt enemy supply lines. For 5 years, U.S. aircraft flew clandestine missions, seeding clouds with chemicals. Operation Popeye raises profound ethical questions about humanity's relationship with nature. The legacy of Operation Popeye did not end with the Vietnam War. It cast a long shadow showing weather manipulation as a tool of state power. Nations aimed to control weather for their own ends. In 2008, China showcased weather control at the Beijing Olympics. The skies were pristine blue, unlike the usual smog. China used cloud seeding and reduced emissions for clear skies. This raised concerns about the potential misuse of such technologies. Could weather control be used to punish enemies or reward allies? The line between peaceful use and manipulation is thin. From Vietnam to the Olympics, weather control serves power. Technological prowess must be balanced by ethical considerations. The fog of secrecy unveiling the hidden agendas. One of the most unsettling aspects of weather manipulation is the shroud of secrecy that often surrounds it. Governments and military institutions around the world have poured billions of dollars into researching and developing these technologies, often operating in the shadows, shielding their activities from public scrutiny and accountability. This lack of transparency fuels suspicion, giving rise to conspiracy theories, and making it difficult to separate legitimate scientific endeavors from potentially dangerous agendas. The very nature of weather modification research lends itself to secrecy. After all, if a nation possesses the ability to control the weather, it becomes a powerful strategic asset, one that could be used to gain an advantage over rivals or even hold entire populations hostage to the whims of nature. The temptation to keep such technologies under wraps to maintain a strategic edge is understandable, but it comes at a cost. When governments operate in secrecy, when they refuse to disclose their activities or subject them to public oversight, it erodes trust and creates a fertile breeding ground for suspicion and paranoia. Rumors abound of clandestine weather modification programs, of secret experiments gone wrong, of governments using these technologies to control populations or manipulate global events. While it is important to approach such claims with a healthy dose of skepticism, it is equally important to demand transparency and accountability from those in positions of power. The ability to control the weather is simply too powerful, too potentially dangerous to be left in the hands of a select few, operating without oversight or accountability. The military-industrial complex profiteering from disaster? As we peel back the layers of secrecy surrounding weather manipulation, we encounter another disturbing possibility, that the pursuit of profit rather than national security or the common good may be driving some of these endeavors. The military-industrial complex, a powerful network of corporations, lobbyists, and government officials with a vested interest in military spending, has long been accused of profiting from war and conflict. Could they be doing the same with weather control? Imagine a world where corporations hold patents on weather modification technologies, where they can profit not only from mitigating the effects of natural disasters but also from potentially creating them. The idea may sound far-fetched, but it is not entirely outside the realm of possibility. In an era of climate change, where extreme weather events are becoming more frequent and severe, the potential profits to be made from controlling the weather are staggering. Companies involved in cloud seeding, for example, already stand to make significant profits from contracts with governments and agricultural businesses seeking to increase rainfall in drought-stricken areas. As the demand for such services grows, so too will the incentive to develop and deploy even more sophisticated and potentially dangerous weather modification technologies. The potential for conflict of interest in this arena is enormous. When corporations stand to profit from both the problem and the solution, it creates a dangerous feedback loop where the pursuit of profit takes precedence over the common good. It is essential that we remain vigilant, questioning the motives of those who stand to gain from weather manipulation, and demanding transparency and accountability to ensure that these technologies are used responsibly and ethically. A new arms race? The geopolitical stakes of weather control. The ability to control the weather has been described as the ultimate weapon, one that could potentially reshape the geopolitical landscape and upset the balance of power between nations. As our understanding of atmospheric processes grows, and the technologies for manipulating the weather become more sophisticated, the potential for a new arms race, one focused on controlling the very elements that govern our planet, becomes a very real and very dangerous possibility. Imagine a world where nations compete not just for territory, resources, and military might, but also for control of the weather. A world where droughts could be engineered to cripple economies, where storms could be steered towards enemy coastlines, where floods could be unleashed to devastate infrastructure and displace populations. It's a chilling vision of the future, one that evokes the dystopian landscapes of science fiction, but the potential for such scenarios to become reality should not be dismissed. The development and deployment of weather modification technologies could trigger a dangerous cycle of escalation and mistrust between nations. If one country develops the capability to control the weather, it creates a strategic imperative for its rivals to do the same, lest they find themselves at a disadvantage. This could lead to a rapid proliferation of these technologies, increasing the risk of accidents, miscalculations, and even intentional acts of aggression. The international community must act proactively to prevent a new arms race from developing in this arena. This requires establishing clear international norms and treaties that prohibit the weaponization of weather modification technologies. It also requires fostering transparency and cooperation between nations in the research and development of these technologies, ensuring that they are used for peaceful purposes and for the benefit of all humanity. The erosion of trust. When science becomes a weapon of deception, weather manipulation as a weapon has profound implications for society, eroding trust and fueling suspicion. In an era of fake news, the potential for deception is particularly concerning. Imagine a government using weather modification to deflect blame for a disaster. Such scenarios blur the line between reality and manipulation. We must defend the integrity of science, demanding transparency and accountability. Only then can we ensure science benefits humanity. HAARP, unveiling the enigma in the Alaskan wilderness. Deep within the Alaskan wilderness lies HAARP, a research facility shrouded in mystery and conspiracy theories. Officially, HAARP studies the ionosphere, crucial for radio communications and space weather. Conspiracy theorists, however, believe it to be a weapon capable of weather manipulation and mind control. The truth is likely less dramatic, focusing on scientific research rather than sinister agendas. Whispers of conspiracy HAARP's alleged dark side. HAARP has been blamed for triggering earthquakes, manipulating weather, and even mind control. These theories persist due to a lack of transparency and distrust in government. Despite no scientific evidence, the allure of these theories remains strong. The idea of controlling weather or minds is too tantalizing for some to dismiss. Stratospheric aerosol injection, a planetary sunshade? As climate change worsens, scientists consider radical solutions like stratospheric aerosol injection to cool the planet by reflecting sunlight. This involves injecting reflective particles into the stratosphere to scatter sunlight and reduce solar radiation. However, the potential side effects and ethical implications are significant and must be carefully considered. The unforeseen consequences. Tampering with the Earth's thermostat. Stratospheric aerosol injection might reduce global temperatures but doesn't address the root cause, our reliance on fossil fuels. It could alter rainfall patterns, damage the ozone layer, and disrupt photosynthesis. Geopolitical concerns arise with immense power given to those who control this technology. The international community must establish guidelines to prevent misuse and ensure cautious deployment. A desperate gamble, weighing the risks and benefits. Geoengineering could buy time to transition to a low-carbon economy but is fraught with risks. Opponents argue it distracts from reducing emissions and creates a false sense of security. The decision requires a global conversation, transparency, and accountability. We must proceed with caution, respecting the delicate balance of our planet's systems. The illusion of control, a dangerous path for humanity. Geoengineering represents our hubristic belief that we can engineer our way out of any problem. It distracts from reducing greenhouse gas emissions and fosters a false sense of security. True wisdom lies in recognizing the limits of our understanding and respecting nature's balance. We must act with humility and responsibility for the well-being of all life on Earth. The perils of playing God, unintended consequences, and the butterfly effect. The butterfly effect reminds us that small actions can have vast, unpredictable consequences. Cloud seeding, for example, could lead to droughts elsewhere, disrupting ecosystems and fueling conflicts. Introducing foreign substances into the atmosphere could impact air quality and human health. History shows that well-intentioned interventions often lead to devastating unintended consequences. A world out of balance, disrupting nature's delicate equilibrium. The Earth's climate system operates within a narrow equilibrium, allowing life to flourish. Dimming the sun's rays could disrupt photosynthesis, leading to crop failures and ecosystem collapse. Altering rainfall patterns could cause droughts, floods, and waterborne diseases. Attempting to control the weather could exacerbate the very problems we aim to solve. Sowing the seeds of conflict, weather control, and the specter of eco-wars. Weather control could become a source of geopolitical tension, igniting conflicts over the elements. Nations might use weather manipulation as a weapon, triggering retaliatory actions and conflicts. Wealthy nations could exploit these technologies, creating new forms of neocolonialism. Pursuing weather control could drive a wedge between nations, fostering competition and mistrust. The moral minefield. Who controls the thermostat of the planet? Weather control raises profound ethical questions about our responsibilities as stewards of the planet. Who decides when and how these technologies are deployed, and who bears the responsibility for consequences? The potential for abuse is vast, with governments or corporations wielding weather as a tool for control. We must consider the moral limits of our technological prowess, and the potential irreversible consequences for future generations. A call for restraint, towards a future of humility and ecological wisdom. The allure of controlling the weather is a dangerous temptation, masking potential unintended consequences. We must proceed with humility, ecological wisdom, and respect for the interconnectedness of all life. Weather control distracts from reducing fossil fuels and adopting sustainable living. It is a path fraught with ethical dilemmas and scientific uncertainties. We must become responsible stewards, recognizing our place in the web of life. Shift from an anthropocentric to an ecocentric perspective, valuing all life. Solutions lie in changing our behavior, not controlling the weather. Embrace a future of humility, cooperation, and respect for our planet. Learn to live in harmony with nature for our well-being. The beauty of a clear blue sky, the awe-inspiring fury of a thunderstorm, the life-giving sustenance of rain. These are experiences shared by humanity. But what if these phenomena were no longer entirely natural? What if the skies above us were becoming canvases for human manipulation? Across the globe, from the arid plains of Australia to the bustling cities of China, from the heartland of America to the rainforests of the Amazon, people are looking up, observing and questioning. They see unusual cloud formations, persistent contrails lingering in the sky, and weather patterns that defy historical norms. They hear whispers of government programs, secret experiments, and technologies with the potential to alter the very fabric of our atmosphere. In drought-stricken regions of California, farmers whisper about rain theft, convinced that cloud seeding programs are diverting much-needed precipitation to other areas. In the American Midwest, some residents point to HAARP, the High-Frequency Active Auroral Research Program, as the culprit behind unseasonable tornadoes and devastating floods. And in countries like China and Russia, where governments have openly acknowledged their weather modification programs, suspicions abound that these technologies are being used for far more than just ensuring clear skies for national celebrations or boosting agricultural yields. Whether these suspicions are grounded in reality or fueled by fear and speculation, they point to a growing unease about the potential for weather manipulation to become a reality, a hidden hand shaping the skies above us and influencing the very forces that govern our lives. The evidence, while often circumstantial and open to interpretation, paints a picture of a world where the line between natural phenomena and human intervention is becoming increasingly blurred. For decades, a persistent theory has circulated within certain corners of the internet and alternative media, a theory that has taken root in the minds of many, despite a lack of scientific evidence or official acknowledgement. This is the theory of chemtrails, the belief that the long white trails left behind by airplanes are not merely condensation trails or contrails, but evidence of a clandestine global spraying program, a deliberate effort to seed the atmosphere with chemicals for purposes unknown. Proponents of the chemtrail theory point to a number of observations to support their claims. They note that contrails often linger in the sky for hours, spreading out to form thin, wispy clouds, unlike the short-lived trails typically associated with condensation. They point to unusual grid-like patterns formed by these trails, suggesting deliberate and coordinated spraying. And they cite anecdotal evidence of health problems such as respiratory illnesses and skin rashes that they attribute to exposure to chemtrail residues. While the scientific community has repeatedly debunked the chemtrail theory, explaining that the persistence and behavior of contrails can be attributed to atmospheric conditions such as humidity and temperature, the theory persists, fueled by a deep-seated distrust of government and a belief that powerful forces are operating in secret to manipulate the environment and control populations. The chemtrail theory, regardless of its veracity, highlights the deep anxieties surrounding weather manipulation and the potential for technology to be used for nefarious purposes. It is a stark reminder of the importance of transparency and open dialogue, of the need to bridge the gap between scientific understanding and public perception, and to address the underlying distrust and suspicion that can fuel conspiracy theories and undermine efforts to address real and pressing environmental challenges. Radar anomalies, deciphering the language of disrupted skies. In the digital age, our skies are no longer simply a canvas for clouds and sunlight. They are also a network of invisible signals, a symphony of radio waves used for communication, navigation, and weather monitoring. And within this invisible landscape, some observers claim to have detected anomalies, patterns of radar activity that defy conventional explanation, suggesting deliberate manipulation of the atmosphere. One example often cited by proponents of weather manipulation is the appearance of strange ring-shaped patterns on weather radar, sometimes referred to as HAARP rings or scalar wave rings. These rings, often appearing as concentric circles or arcs on radar imagery, are said to be evidence of high-frequency radio waves being beamed into the atmosphere, creating disturbances that manifest as these unusual patterns. While meteorologists explain that such patterns can occur naturally, often associated with atmospheric phenomena such as temperature inversions or gravity waves, the persistence and unusual characteristics of some of these radar anomalies have fueled speculation that they are evidence of something more deliberate, perhaps even clandestine military activities or weather modification experiments. The interpretation of radar data is a complex science, one that requires specialized knowledge and expertise. While it is important to approach claims of radar anomalies with a healthy dose of skepticism, it is equally important to acknowledge the limitations of our current understanding of atmospheric processes and the potential for unknown or undisclosed technologies to leave their mark on the invisible landscape of our skies. As with many aspects of the weather manipulation debate, the truth likely lies somewhere between the realms of natural phenomena and human intervention, shrouded in a veil of uncertainty and fueled by a lack of transparency and open dialogue. A pattern of denial, official responses, and the elusive quest for transparency. The pursuit of truth regarding weather manipulation is often a frustrating exercise in navigating a labyrinth of official denials and classified information. Governments often resort to vague denials or invoke national security concerns to avoid providing concrete answers. Take, for example, the official response to inquiries about HAARP. The facility's stated purpose is to study the ionosphere, but its scale and power have fueled conspiracy theories. Officials deny claims of weather modification, maintaining that HAARP is for scientific research. The lack of transparency surrounding HAARP has done little to quell suspicions. Refusal to declassify documents or allow independent access reinforces the belief that there is something to hide. Transparency and accountability in weather modification are essential to foster trust and understanding. Operating in the shadows creates suspicion, distrust, and conspiracy theories, undermining efforts to address environmental challenges. Connect the dots. A convergence of evidence? The truth about weather manipulation lies scattered across fragmented evidence, scientific data, and official pronouncements. There is no smoking gun, no single piece of evidence, yet patterns and anomalies create a compelling case that the skies above us may not be as natural as they seem. Consider the historical context. From Operation Popeye during the Vietnam War to China's weather modification for the 2008 Beijing Olympics, governments and militaries view weather control as a strategic tool. Is it so far-fetched to imagine these programs have continued in secret? Add to this the persistent reports of unusual weather patterns, strange cloud formations and persistent contrails, documented anomalies in radar data, and anecdotal accounts of weather manipulation. While each piece of evidence might be dismissed, the volume and consistency of these reports gives pause. The question of weather manipulation remains open. Its extent and purpose are subjects of ongoing debate. The potential for these technologies to disrupt ecosystems and trigger conflicts is real. We must demand transparency and accountability and foster a global conversation about the ethical implications of manipulating the forces that govern our planet. The gathering storm, a call to action. From historical weather manipulation to modern geoengineering, the genie is out of the bottle. The implications for our environment and humanity are profound. We must demand transparency and accountability, embrace informed skepticism, and foster open dialogue. The storm is gathering, but the choice remains in our hands.